Let me introduce you to Mike Ruggles, and he is our activist, never-ending, and please pay attention and ask him anything you want.
Aloha, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I want to thank Sarah for doing this. I think it's the second year, and I'm glad you guys all came out, or she would have really felt bad. We all love cannabis. We all love hemp. And you know, what was the latest epiphany for me was, because I was listening to one of the guys talk, and it was the Chamber of Commerce had, who was it? It was the head of Vice. I can't think of his name. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Oh, Fiera, head of Vice. And they were talking about the CBD and the THC. And so, how that works, and I finally put it together, which is, there's no such thing as hemp in cannabis. Hemp is cannabis with low THC. It's the exact same brand. Now the problem is that, you know, and God bless them, the feds just legalized hemp, but cannabis is still illegal. And the real problem right now, and the state has taken this position, and they just came out with it last week, which is CBD, even though it's legal in the entire country and the world now, and you can buy it online, if you were to take a CBD product, whether it's something you buy and you want to resell, or you buy CBD oxalate or the concentrate and you want to infuse something, they're saying, no, that's adulterated. This has just come out last week. They're like, no. And then you ask yourself, and Senator Rubin will be able to allude on this, I think, because he has CBD products in his, and they're like, well, we only enforce it on a case-by-case basis. And so they had the head of Vice there, and he said, well, how we do is we do this NIC test, they call it. And they stick it in a little packet, and if the test is positive for THC, then it's pot, it's not hemp, and you're busted. Only problem is the other guy pointed out, it's okay to have hemp if it's below 1% THC. Sadly, though, you will still test positive. So like when vice cops go around and test CBD products, if they got a little THC in them, they test positive, and they confiscate those products, and they go, oh man, this is adulterated. Anyway, they're excused for doing this right now, the health department, because you'd think they would go the other way. When you got 50 people a day dying from opioid epidemic, you got people, the meth epidemic over here has been legendary for years, but the health department, their view is, no, you need to have a prescription for CBD, therefore you're not allowed to have it, even though it's legal in the rest of the world. Anyway, interesting point, so be careful. Like the young man said before, CBD hemp has a lot of promise. Personally, because I've had skin cancer issues and I've helped people with skin cancer issues. And the first guy to notice it was Rick Simpson, thank you. Senior moment, sorry. But he was using like finger leaves, which were more CBD, less THC, and it was helping skin cancer patients. Me personally, as a skin cancer patient, I've noticed that I was using the Rick Simpson oil, and it was keeping it at bay, but it wasn't kicking its butt. And when I started using the dabs for the high THC content, man, I can show you, look right here. That's an old bullet hole. Anyway, from surfing and stuff, it had turned into skin cancer. I had that for like 6 months. When I put the dabs on there, look. And I had medical doctors out there that were going to come over because I had a collective going. Because they knew I don't like to go to doctors. They were going to come to the collective and cut it off. And when they showed up, they seen that it was like unbelievable. Okay, so sadly, we got to talk about, I've been in this fight a long time, 42 years. And I come actually from a long line of law enforcement. My dad was in law enforcement for 33 years, was an FBI agent. My mom, dad, and grandma were all law enforcement. And when I first moved here 42 years ago, we had the best cops, I want to say, in the nation and probably in the world. They helped. In fact, when I first camped out here, because back then, you know, I was like a Halloween, it was kind of scary. The locals, you know, accepted me, but it took a while. Administrative forfeiture in the state, they take over $5 million a year, and over 25% of those, people never even get charged. Like say if his wife hadn't T-boned the car, she just got pulled over for speeding or something, and they noticed the 2 grams, guess what they do? They arrest you, and they take your car. That's called administrative forfeiture, and if it's under $100,000, you don't even get to go in front of the judge. They don't even charge you, and you're happy they don't charge you. They do that to almost $5 million a year in the county. And so I'm just showing you what has turned the best cops on earth into the worst cops. It's money. Okay, so in 2018, the audit office, I guess it's the state audit office, because the audit office over here is like the police commission. I want to say it's the watchdog that doesn't bark or bite. And so it makes you wonder, why do we feed them? Anyway, the audit office for the state audited administrative forfeiture. I'm so glad you're here. I was getting ready to release the hounds. Okay, so they did this audit and they noticed that when the police take, and you gotta understand administrative forfeiture, who gets the money? 50% of it goes to the Attorney General. 25% goes to the prosecutor and 25% goes to the police. And so now you see what motivates these people to come after friendly, safe cannabis users rather than actually do their real jobs. And so we're working on a lawsuit right now, and I'm filing at the federal court. It's going up against, I'm hoping to get my favorite judge, which is Leslie Ann Kobayashi, who used to be a federal prosecutor, and she doesn't like cannabis. But she's a very fair judge, and we're hoping to get this in front of her because I think we're going to win. Because first off, administrative forfeiture, come on, that's insane. Because you got to remember, they're taking your stuff before, not only before you're found guilty, before you're even charged. They just take your shit straight up. $4.5 million a year just in our county. And so does that mean that the county, Big Island's an evil county? Hell no, we live in the best place on earth. I just want to point that out. We live in the best place on earth, and that's why I'm trying to educate people, is that it's all downhill from here. If we can get you guys understanding of why this is happening, you can help me fix it. My daughter's here. We're going to try to get named. She's the ex-councilwoman, Jennifer Rose. I think you guys know. Anyway, I want to get you guys down to county council meeting and try to fix this shit. Administrative forfeiture is just insane because not only does it go against the Constitution where it says you're safe and secure in your home from search and illegal seizure, it also goes against the cornerstone of justice, which is you're innocent till proven guilty. And so you notice I'm not saying, hey, don't take that cannabis user stuff. No, I'm saying wait until you find him guilty. He's been taking stuff. That's just how it always works. And so you'll notice they're not waiting, and they call that administrative forfeiture. And so if you do the math with that, with matching funds, and I learned him, I found him. You know how I found him was I put an ad in the paper when I got busted with Sarah back in '07, and they had this cop, John Weber. He was Officer of the Year. And he busted over 1,000 people on the Big Island that year for cannabis. He got Officer of the Year from George Bush. And they said it's because his attention to detail on his police reports. Because he had 100% kill. And so, in fact, it was Sarah and Bob that pointed out that they've just come out with this new technology called FLIR, which is an acronym for Forward Looking Infrared. And they were using it, and it's so good because it's computer enhanced, they can shoot it on your house at night, and they can see if you got a pimple on your nose. And so that's pretty, what should I say, intrusive technology. The only problem, there's one problem, is that our Constitution, which we adopted from Alaska, which is a home rule state, and we adopted the Alaskan Constitution. Because us, like Alaska, see Nome and Anchorage, there's no roads between those two places, so they're almost like islands. And so home rule means that if there's something you want to do on the Big Island, and you guys decide that's what you want to do through initiative, well then that's okay. Just like we started the collective in 2015, we were running for like 9 months and we got busted. But we were helping great. We had over 100 patients, and we were doing everything right, and naturally the cops came and busted us, and I knew they were coming. And so the bottom line is, we got to hooey up, guys. The Big Island is the best place. Like the young man said before, it's all about the hooey. Let's get your names. Let's go down and talk to the county council. Because my daughter, you know, how she got elected, and she beat a nice young man, but he was like a pro-cop guy, just like the guy that replaced her. In fact, the guy that replaced her just got 30 new police officers for the Big Island. I guess that's a good thing. But my point is this, you could have 300 more police officers on the Big Island who wouldn't bust a grape. It's not going to help until they stop throwing people in jail for profit. Because you got to remember, administrative forfeiture, you got to remember, they get paid dollar for dollar, and they probably lie and pad the bill to the feds on every cannabis. Like when they came and busted my collective, it was me, the old guy in his underwear, smoking his morning joint, 15 cops, DEA, ATF, 15 cops. It makes you wonder, why so many? Well, it's because they're all getting paid that day by the feds. See what I'm saying? And so, yeah, you know, if there's a murder investigation or a rape, you get 15 cops showing up? Probably not, because there's no money. And so that's the bottom line, is we got to get together. We can fix this by the county. But we're also going to try to fix it through the state. We got a local lawsuit going. We're going to try to get an injunction from federal funding. The lowest law enforcement priority, what we tried to do was stop, and I forgot to bring this up. We passed that law in 2008. Do they still get the money? Yeah. Only the feds give the money to the DLNR now. That's the Department of Land Resources, who come with them, because they got their own police force apparently. And so they come with them, and they give them the money to give to us. That's how they get by that lowest law enforcement priority, which is still on the books, by the way. If anybody's willing to check. So keep that in mind. Administrative forfeiture. That's why that nice young officer, when he pulls you over, is going to bust you and take your shit. You don't want it. But it's already been ruled against, and it was interesting because it was a guy on a heroin bust. I can't remember. I think it was Tennessee. And he had $200 worth of heroin in his Hummer, and they took his Hummer. And so it ran all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they just ruled that no, you can't have law enforcement for profit. And that's exactly what they're doing here on the Big Island. And we're going to try to stop it with a lawsuit. But then I also have my court case coming up in August. Because when they busted my collective, they made up all this bullshit. And anyway, we're going to finally throw down 4 years later. And so I need you guys to come down to the courthouse. Because when we hooed up, like I said, when John Weber busted all those people, and I was like, attention to detail. You know, if you read between the lines on a newspaper article, cop of the year, attention to detail on reports, and on the ads, I call them up and I say, hey, I want to run an ad that said, got legal marijuana but been busted anyway. United we stand. You have to keep it short because they charge you per word. And that was the minimum. And the lady's like, well, you can't run it. I'm like, why not? She's like, well, it's not true. Marijuana's not legal. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's medical. She's like, yeah, but it's not legal. I said, it's legal if it's medical. And so we went back and forth, and she finally hung up. And so I had her on speed dial, so I just redialed. And she hung up, and I redialed. And so now, all of a sudden, the voice sounded like God. Is this Mike Ruggles? I'm like, yes, it is. Do you still want to run this ad? I was like, yes, I do. We will run this ad. Well, I forgot the funny part, which was when I said, hey, you can't run that because it's not true. I said, yeah, because there was an ad. I was running it in the personals, and the only other ad in the personal, I don't know if you guys saw this was way back then, was a guy saying, spaceship leaving for Venus from Bayfront, bring your own weapons. And so I'm like, really? You can run an ad saying spaceship leaving for Venus, bring your own weapons, but I can't say, hey, got legal marijuana. Anyway, they ran the ad. Stanton Shura, which I think, and Sarah does as well, that he's one of the best lawyers on the island, and he's been studying this case for a year. And so I think this ought to be good entertainment. Why? Because you guys are all involved in this. You know, we kind of hope I win. If we don't, it goes up the ladder. I think it will win up the ladder. Because you already had this other ruling that was Woodall. And I went and saw his case. He got busted with 2 grams at the airport. And the judge over in Kona was like, transportation. And he was trying to figure out a way to say, that doesn't really mean you can travel with it. But obviously, transportation does mean you can travel with it. And so he made this weird ruling. What he ruled was, yeah, but you can't use it anywhere open to the public. And if you're transporting it, you're using it, therefore, you're guilty. And I'm like, because I always wanted to ask him, well, how far do you get on a bag of weed? You know, if you take off from here and you go to Kona, when you get there, do you have a bag of weed? If you're transporting, you're using it. Anyway, so it went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled against it. They ruled in our favor, and they said, of course, they said, they didn't agree that you should be able to use cannabis, but they were like, any other interpretation would be absurd. And they ruled that the cannabis law was irrevocably conflicting. And so that's a good ruling, but we need to get it a little bit further. It didn't solve anything. And then you'll notice now, the state has taken a position on CBD, which is a lot of people, because we wanted to get in the damn CBD market. I spent $500 to get 10-acre hemp license. And I wanted to get into CBD, because I don't know if you guys are on the CBDs, but it's actually pretty good. They call it the entourage effect. So when you mix a little CBD oxalate with a little dab, you put that on there, man, you get a better buzz. And what they're noticing is that people that aren't used to using cannabis, and they use CBD with the cannabis, they don't get paranoid. You don't get that weird paranoia. You just get the healing effects. So check out CBD by all means. But like I say, we can't fight this alone. You guys need to sign up and need to come down to the courthouse. Plus, we used to go down, because we used to, before we were a cool new pain management club, we used to be Friends for Justice. And we would go down to the county building and mess with all the county council. But, when Jennifer took over, I didn't want to go down there and torture her and say, oh yeah, that's my dad. And so I kind of let her do her own thing. But we need to do it again, guys. We need to go down there and go, what the hell are you talking about? CBD is a prescription drug. He pulled that out of his ear. And who is this? The state. But again, we're supposed to have home rule, guys. And the county needs to stand up for us. And the only way they can do that is you guys, the final checks and balance. Because why do we got the worst, most corrupt cops in the United States? I'll tell you why. The police commission don't do anything. They just let them do whatever the hell they want. There are no checks and balances on them. And you can't blame. It's like your kid. If you tell your kid be in bed by 8, but don't worry, you stay up as late as you want. And the kid don't go to bed at 8. Are you mad at the kid? Well, you gotta have checks and balances. See, and when they started the drug war, so that's my point. Is 30 new cops gonna help? I don't see how, because they've lost the trust and respect of the community. Why? Because they're busting people like you for nothing, for money. That's called law enforcement for profit, and that's exactly what's going on here. They don't want to, they're still the nicest guys. They just follow orders. You gotta remember, the police is paramilitary. You don't get to say, as the private or corporal or sergeant, oh, we don't feel like charging the hill today, Captain. Can't we just get along? Because in the cannabis war, you know what they say is, well, you get pulled over and there's cannabis, it's up to the discretion of the law officer. Well, that's like saying it's up to the discretion of the private whether or not he wants to charge the hill. No, it's not up to the discretion of the law officer. He calls it in. In fact, you gotta call it in. When you pull someone over, you gotta call it in. You gotta call in what's going on. You follow orders, so they're making that up. There is no discretion. So that's why, now that we're on discretion, I want you guys to understand that. Be discreet. Even though you got medical marijuana, do not get caught with it in your car. Because not only will they arrest you, probably won't charge you, but they'll take your car, which worth anything. Of course, if you drive a beer like me, you might not be too upset. Well, I do the dabs. I used to always have a joint in my ashtray, and that wasn't for me. That was for the road rage. That was for you people. That wasn't for me. Anyway, now that I do dabs, I don't have to do that. I don't keep the joint gas for you. I can just do a dab and then go do my thing and go home and do a dab. So I recommend that. Plus, it's way cleaner on your lungs. I used to cough up this lung butter, I would call it, when I smoke. Do these kind of a brown, buttery substance. Hey, I don't cough that up no more. It's way better. And so I recommend that. I recommend CBD. But you got to be smart and realize this. Why are the police going to come after you, the nicest people? Money. It's always about that. It always comes down to the bread. So yeah, be happy and excited about all the opportunities in hemp and CBD, but be extremely careful because even a CBD product, as the young man pointed out, was made with something that had 1% or less THC, which is still enough. See, they can't tell. It's their dumb test. The cop does the test, you test positive, you're busted. And here's another thing. If you get caught with cannabis in your car and they want to get you for DUI, they'll force a blood test, and of course you're going to come back positive. And they're going to go, oh, that's it, you're guilty. Even though that test could have been done 45 days. You could have smoked that weed 6 weeks before that and you'd still test positive. But because their tests are inadequate, first off, you notice it's a test for cannabis, even if it's less than 1%, which makes it hemp, which is supposed to be legal, you still test positive and you go to jail. And then later, their test says it was in your system, even though you could have consumed that 6 weeks before, you're automatically guilty. And DUI is no joke, guys. And not just so much for you, and they take your license and all that jive. It's like they're doing it for the insurance companies, because now your insurance is jacked. Who's making money? I don't know. The insurance companies make $25K off of you getting busted smoking a joint in your car. So be careful. Don't smoke in your car. Don't medicate in your car. If you're going to pursue CBD activities, do it discreetly. Of course, there's other collectives out there, and that's what I'm doing. On the tip of the spear, I'm trying to play for all you guys. I got Sarah helping me. She's a sweetheart, man. She hangs in the trenches and she fights this administrative forfeiture and matching funds. Oh, and this part. So we're searching matching funds. Where do they get billions of dollars to spend against the wishes of citizens? Because you got to remember, it's not just here in Hawaii. It's across the nation. It's billions of dollars. And so we research. Because you think that's more than the budget of the Department of Justice altogether. And guess what it is? Guess where the money comes from? NSA, National Security Agency. This is military money. Billions of dollars of military money used for matching funds to go against us. And guess what they're calling us? Domestic terrorists. Because we grow medical marijuana in a state that says we can, and it's against federal law, we're domestic terrorists. That's why they get to use NSA matching funds. To me, that's bullshit. Because first off, we might be criminals. That's contentious, depending on who you're talking to. Maybe we are. I don't know. That's the state's thinking that. But one thing's for sure, we're not terrorists. Terrorists hurt people. Terrorists do something evil. Anyway, all we're doing is using cannabis. And so that's why I think we're going to win. Sarah is the one. And she's doing this, we've been typing it up for a while now. And so you got to have every word right, otherwise you're going to lose. And this isn't my first lawsuit. I've sued these guys and got my ass kicked many times. Are you guys ready to talk? Oh, okay. Hey, I got other smarter people ready to talk. Hey, you guys, join in the fight. It's a great fight. I'm having fun. But be careful out there. Because like I said, administrative forfeiture and matching funds, they'll come after your money, guys. And it's got nothing to do with you. It's not personal. It's just business. All right, aloha.
Let's welcome Jen Ruggles.
All right, thank you. I want to keep this short. My name is Jen Ruggles. The man speaking before me was my father, Mike Ruggles. I just want to clarify a couple of things as far as what's happening with him legally. So a few years ago, at the state level, there was a law that passed that changed the definition of distribution under the medical cannabis law. And the distribution term was changed from being strictly between patient and caregiver, and it removed that requirement from being strictly between patient to caregiver. And so my father saw that as a indication that now cannabis can be legally transported from patient to patient, from one authorized user to another. And he looked towards California, who had recently started doing these medical cannabis collectives, which are very different from dispensaries. And he modeled a collective after the ones in California. He had a HIPAA certified nurse processing patient information. He required that they have a doctor's recommendation, and it was a private collective. It was not for profit. All of the proceeds went back into the collective, and eventually he was able to get different technologies available for the members, like a vacuum oven, a vacuum purge oven to purify medicines for people for various ailments, and a testing machine to test for molds and mildews and pesticides, so that the medicines that patients were consuming and trading amongst themselves were pure and safe and healthy. And within a year, we had hundreds of patients join. A lot of them were disabled veterans and people with serious chronic illnesses. And it was really helpful to a lot of people because it was the first place that they thought that they could acquire their doctor-recommended medicine in 15 years of Hawaii having a medical marijuana program. In that whole 15 years, patients could not legally acquire cannabis. And this was the first place, and my dad took that jump and he modeled it after the ones in California that held up at the Supreme Courts there. And so he was raided. Now he's being charged with running an unauthorized dispensary, which was different from the collective, and he's facing 77 years in prison. His trial is on August 12th. It starts at 9 a.m. It's at the courthouse in Hilo on the 3rd floor. We need people to show up and show the judge that we're watching and that this isn't okay and that he doesn't deserve 77 years in prison for helping sick people. Because that's really what he was doing. Here's a leaflet that describes more about the differences between collectives and dispensaries. But put simply, collectives are more like the farmers markets, while dispensaries are more like the Walmarts. So dispensaries are private, they're for the benefit of the owners, while collectives they're more publicly owned, they're for the benefit of the members. So please come down, please sign up if you'd like to stay posted on updates as far as what's happening with his trial. And I have a little leaflet here I'll put on the table over here with the All Things Cannabis t-shirts with more information. There's a YouTube video that talks more about the details of his case. And there's also my dad's cell phone number if you guys want to call and talk story with him more to get more information. Thank you for your time.